Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another awesome Polytopia video. Now, as some of you know, I have not uploaded much recently, but while I haven't uploaded much, I gathered a lot of really good replays that I think have quite a bit of learning potential. This is one of the replays, and it's not great in the way that there's just been some awesome replays that are just 1,000 IQ. No, this replay is really good because it shows quite a lot of intermediate and beginner mistakes that a lot of you make. So here we'll go over the game, we'll go over the mistakes that beginners and intermediates can do. And so here is Abardo Amira playing on small dryland. It's me, red is me, and my opponent is black. I'm in a fancy Bardo costume, so already my supremacy is shown. Alright, so beginning with turn 0, both of us upgrade. Obviously, as Bardo, you should always upgrade. It's good, those 2 extra stars per turn, and always go workshop as well, even on tiny. You go. So even in turn 1, my opponent already makes a mistake, and it's a mistake that quite a lot of intermediates and beginners seem to make, and it's that they always try and expand towards the center. And while in quite a few cases expanding towards the center is good, this is not the case. So how can you tell when to when to expand to the center and when to? So villages generate near resources, and you would rather go towards resources than towards empty tiles or forest tiles. So fruit and animals go before mountains, forests, and empty tiles, because villages just generally spawn more here. My opponent here got lucky and found a village, but your chances are lower if you step on a fruit instead of your chances are lower if you step on a forest instead of a fruit or an animal. Here, a village would have been way likely if you went to the top or the bottom towards the animal. But it's fine because he got lucky and it doesn't affect him that much. So, next time, don't just lazily go towards the center. Try and have a look where the resources are and go towards the resources. So, here we go. And you might just ask, oh, Gala, but you said go towards the resources. Animal better. Well, here I reveal 5 tiles, and 5 tiles where villages could be are way better than just 3 tiles with an animal. So here my opponent expanded towards the center, only revealed 3 tiles, not 5. So sometimes when you go towards the center, it's okay to go towards the center, even if it's like a forest tile, because it reveals 5 tiles. But you'd still much rather go towards the animals or fruits. Here I only got 1 animal. If there was like 2 animals, I would probably go towards it instead of up to reveal 5 tiles. Alright, let's continue. And, okay, another beginner mistake. Playing with a 3rd warrior opening. Now, the 3rd warrior opening is... It's not good, because later on you'll see that it just sabotages your economy. The reason why you go for the 2nd warrior is to basically double your expansion, but at the cost of a few stars. 2 stars early game are pretty important, and they actually disallow you from getting a rider a turn earlier. And the faster you get riders, the better, as long as you still get good economy. So here a 3rd warrior actually disallowed him from getting a turn 4 rider, and it also kind of screwed up his economy a little bit, because we see here he's forced to get forestry and chop. And now here's the problem, right? Getting an explorer. When should you get an explorer and when should you not? So usually, yes, it's good to get an explorer in the center, but here you're going for 3 warriors. You don't have a level 3 capital, which in some cases you could have sometimes, but here you have 6 stars per turn. That is not good. Your economy is really should not be this low on turn 3. You should have like 7 stars per turn, 8 stars per turn. And here, even though an explorer center is good, when you're host and you do an explorer on turn 3, you're pretty much guaranteed to meet your opponent below 1000 health. I mean 1000 points. And the difference between having a below 1000 points and having above 1000 points is that when you meet your opponent below 1000 points, you get 3 stars. Above, you get 5, 7, 9, 11 for each 1000. Um, so yeah, so quickly, before you do an explorer, have a look, check the score. It's only 635, so my opponent only gets 3 stars. If you went ahead and delayed and put an explorer here or maybe down here, then maybe he would have gotten 7 or 5 stars for meeting me, which is way better. Also kept his economy. Okay, so the fog is just gonna interfere a little bit now because it oh, I had shared fog on, so yeah, now it's much better because now I can see who has vision of what. Alright, so here, so in this case, I made another blunder. Now, the history behind this was that it was not that serious of a game, so I decided to try something new out. I decided to play an opening that a very good player like me plays called Ina. They are very good at this opening, but I have no idea what I'm doing, so I just kind of tried it out. It did not work. So generally, what you want to do is turn 3. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and pan to me for a second. This is a very good opening to have to play as Bardor, and it's the opening that you should try to always play. Well, it's the opening that I recommend. I think Eno would disagree, but... And here, what you would do normally on turn 4 is have 9 stars, and then you would get Riding and a Rider, because Riders are very powerful early game machines that will just destroy your opponent if you don't get Riders. Here, both me and my opponent missed out on getting Riding, so it actually kind of equaled out. But if my opponent did get Riding, then, I would have I would have lost very easily because I have no idea what I'm doing in this opening. So yeah, so again here my opponent is just spamming a lot of warriors, using a lot of them onto economy. I mean onto just military, and I'm going full economy, so just the polar opposites here. My opponent has bad economy, but like good military, and here I have good economy and bad military. My explorer gets a little bit unlucky, but an explorer here in the city would be good because 1, I have good economy, so I'm okay with doing an explorer. 2, my opponent is above 1000 points. 3, it's a center city. You would want to get explorers more in the center city, and yeah, that's the kind of things you should think of when getting an explorer here. So you would go really nice, and another mistake that actually 2 mistakes that my opponent went with is they got climbing right, but they moved the unit fast. So here they got climbing after moving the unit, in which case they could have gotten in which case they could have just moved onto the mountain and gotten a bunch of vision. And actually they missed out on a village later on just because they did that. So here it's just, yeah, if you're gonna decide what checks you're gonna get at the start of the turn and then get them ASAP, unless you have like a level 2 city to upgrade and get stars back. But usually you just want to get climbing, and climbing here is not a good tech at all, because sure, you can argue that it gets a rune, but actually it does absolutely nothing. It does not help your economy at all, And here my opponent keeps one of his cities at level 1. His economy is just not doing well at all. You can't rely on it giving you stars. And you just, what my opponent should have done here is go ahead and upgrade this city to level 3, which he did, and then upgrade this city to level 3, not get climbing. You go, I get another organization, I get another economy tick, which allows me to get a giant here later on. And also a mistake that I did here is just not being able to count. I don't know why I can't count, but I'm pretty sure you can count, so make sure to never ever leave population. Make it that some cases, some rare cases, you will need to get some population, but that's just not at your level. Try to never get population if you're not gonna upgrade the city. For now, later on you will be able to tell when you should leave population, but here it's just complete mathematical error, just getting population for no reason at all. Here my opponent plays really well, goes for economy now, upgrades his cities, and here my opponent decided to go for a workshop. And you might say, oh well, Gala, you just said, oh, get explorers if your economy is good, but now his economy is good. He has 18 stars per turn. I have the same amount. An explorer here is actually fine because it gives the entire vision. Explorers in early games are quite risky. You have to consider when to do explorers in early games, but late games here, but like when it's your what, 5th, 6th, 7th village, you're fine with going an explorer. And also, the village is very close to me. Here, I might be able to get that city later on, and when I get it, I'm gonna suffer 1 star per turn loss. So, alright, hold on. I finally get a giant. And here I get an explorer because explorers are really good. My economy is fine and I'm able to get some vision. Like, the only time you should be careful with explorers is early game when your economy isn't good. Or like late game if you haven't upgraded your cities at all. Now sadly here, I use roads, but I don't have the vision for the veteran swordsman that my opponent got from a ruin. Here we go. Another mistake done by my opponent is a counting error. So here from this city, if you counted, you can actually get a giant with a monument, and you could have just giant pushed my giant. And while that doesn't solve the giant problem of I still have a giant there and I still have a catapult, well, you have your own catapults, and by the time the giant actually sieges the city, you would actually be completely fine. You'd be able to kill the giant. Here, if you can get a giant in that city, don't move out of the city. Actually, capturing the city would have been better, even if you couldn't get a giant there, because you could chop everything, and it just sabotages your opponent completely. And here, it's just my opponent gives up the city, but doesn't sabotage it at all. Again, here, border growth would have been beautiful. The city would have only had, what, 3 population right now. I would have only been able to 3, 4 with roads. That's not enough for me to get a city to even level 3. Border growth here would have been deadly. And my opponent can't get a giant here because, well, the catapult is just going to be pushed into the giant, because push rules. Here we go again. don't leave your cities open if they can be sieged by riders. Just make it a rule to never leave your cities open in front of your enemy, because they will get it most likely. And here my opponent unsieges with a 3 HP and just retreats the veteran swordsman back, which is doesn't make sense. The veteran swordsman went out to attack, went out to I don't know, commit some war crimes, and then just got sent back after a rider whacked it. Like the swordsman is completely fine. He just got one hit. It's at 16 health, but my opponent just sent it back, and now it's not doing anything. I mean, you can argue that it protects, but so does that catapult, and the catapult is just not gonna get hit at all. If you protect it right, it's not gonna get hit. Here my opponent again doesn't go for the explorer. I don't know, maybe they had some trauma from having that bad economy early game, but yeah, don't do this. When you get explorers, you have to have good economy. Here my opponent had good economy, so explorers here were good. As long as they're near vision. If you get an explorer and you see the entire map, you might just start playing, I don't know, checkers or chess. Polytopia is not for you if you get an explorer and with just vision on everything. Here we go. So I upgrade my cities, get a giant, and now here's another mistake that actually I've had my opponent. I've played that mistake quite a few times, and I've had a few advanced opponents play it. So it's kind of an advanced problem, I guess. But here, you see how empty this field is? Like, black has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 units. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 units. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cities. I can nearly double the amount of units I have in a turn just by spamming them. I can like double my army, have double army more than my opponent in a turn. Here it's just the perfect showcase of when to just not go economy. If your opponent has like 7 units, you need to go for economy. Here I just upgrade another city because I can, and it's that one extra star is way worse than just getting a bunch of units and completely overthrowing my opponent. Because I have better economy right now. I have three giants to one giant. Now it's 4 giants to one giant, but does that really matter? And here again, I suck at math, so I screw up again. And also, another mistake that I forgot to talk to you about. Here my opponent gets riding and roads, but you notice that they don't use them on the same turn. And that's a big problem. When you get a tech, you need to use it on the same turn, or if you're capturing a city. So, because if you're not going to use a tech, and if you're not going to capture a city, what's the point of getting that tech? Well, I say before you capture a city, because if you capture a city, the tech prices rise up. It says tech costs increase for each city in your empire. So if you're not gonna capture a city, if you're not gonna use the tech this turn, why get it? It's just a waste of stars here. My opponent left all of his cities blank. They were at 1 star. I mean, they could show up for a warrior, but 1 star. And have a look, I just completely siege, and I'm still oblivious to it. Look at that. I get a giant, a rider, 2 riders. That's it. I get 2 riders. 2 riders. One of them dies the next turn. Oh my gosh. If your opponent isn't getting any units whatsoever, Just rush them. There you go. And so the rest of this game is just me kind of throwing away my win. Sure, you see me sieging a city, but again, like I said, I got archery, but I just didn't need it. It was completely useless this turn. My opponent gets a star rune, and another common mistake is, oh yeah, you know, giant pushing has its purposes sometimes. When you giant push, you delay your opponent by a turn or two, or maybe you delay it completely by throwing away their plan because they can't re-siege again. But when you giant push, you're supposed to kind of completely slow your opponent down and thwart your opponent's plan. But here, a giant just makes you a big inconvenience because it just dies the next turn, and you just wasted what, 5 stars and a monument. A monument is massive here. You only have 3 monuments in a battle game. 3 monuments. You use up one of your 3 monuments for nothing, just to delay a city capture by 1 turn. Again, if you're gonna giant push, make sure you have a follow up afterwards to give a reason why you giant pushed, and otherwise just give away the city. And here, my opponent is actually just completely winning. Well, why, you might ask? Well, at first glance, you can see that I'm just completely destroying them. I'm sieging their city. Like, what do you mean he's winning? Well, yeah, let's turn the fog off. First of all, this giant is a problem. Both these giants are a problem. And my opponent's catapults are actually scary now. Like, this swordsman, this giant, and his second giant, just my giant just cannot handle the amount of pressure that's happening, and I only have 1 catapult. So this attack will actually seize on. And here, my opponent has 3 catapults and a full giant against nothing. I have 3 riders and a warrior. Where's my attack? Where's my defense down here? And the saddest part, maybe, in this game, even though I blundered a lot, even though this was like one of my worst games of the year, my opponent, in this position, resigned. Even though this is a completely winning position, they resigned. Thank you for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you had an awesome time watching my video, and I hope you learned a lot. Um, this is the first video of how to not lose at Polytopia, covering tips, because I saw that quite a few, actually all of my videos were on how to play better, like how to play a tribe, but none of them were how to not play, if that makes sense, right? Because mistakes are a part of the game, and I can't just tell you the perfect way to play without covering the mistakes. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Try to upload more this time.